Welcome to a deep dive
Oh,
into the incredible life of Jimmy Carter.
right.
We just lost this extraordinary man at the age of 100.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're going to celebrate his journey from, humble beginnings on a peanut farm to becoming a global symbol of peace
Yeah.
and humanitarianism.
Yeah, what's truly remarkable is how his story resonates today. He
Yeah.
was a man of deep conviction who never stopped trying to make the world a better place.
Okay, so let's start in Plains, Georgia.
Okay.
It's 1924.
All right.
Picture a small town grappling with the Great Depression.
Yeah.
This is where Jimmy Carter's story begins. The oldest of 4 children, growing up on a farm with no electricity until he was a teenager.
These early experiences really shaped him. You see that same work ethic, that resilience
Right.
throughout his life. And then there's the influence of his mother, Lillian.
Yeah.
She was a registered nurse and a real trailblazer, advocating for racial equality in a deeply segregated South.
Yeah. She even championed equal pay for Black nurses,
Right.
which is pretty astounding for that time.
Right.
It's like you can draw a line from her activism to Carter's own commitment to social justice later on.
Absolutely. But it wasn't just his mother. Carter himself was a voracious reader, immersed in history and books. You can almost see the seeds of his future political aspirations being planted right there.
But before we get to politics, there's this fascinating detour. The U.S. Naval Academy.
Oh, yeah.
Not your typical path for a peanut farmer, right?
And he didn't just attend, he thrived.
Yeah.
He's selected for the elite nuclear submarine program, working under the famously demanding Admiral Hyman Rickover.
Wow.
Think about that, a young man from rural Georgia mastering the complexities of nuclear technology.
It tells you something about his willingness to embrace challenges head on.
Yeah.
This wasn't just about ambition. It was about pushing himself to learn and grow.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where his love story with Rosalind Smith begins, right?
Yes. They meet while Carter's at the academy, and their partnership becomes a defining feature of his life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating to consider how her support and shared values contributed to his success.
It's like this constant source of strength.
Right.
But then, just as his naval career is soaring, his father passes away.
Oh, wow.
Carter makes the tough decision to leave the Navy
Right.
and return to Plains to manage the family peanut farm.
Some might see that as a step back, but it was actually a turning point.
Yeah.
He's forced to grapple with the realities of rural life, agricultural issues, racial inequality,
Yeah.
economic struggle.
And you see these experiences really shaping his understanding of the world, laying the groundwork for his future in politics.
Exactly. He doesn't shy away from getting involved. First on the local Sumter County Board of Education, fighting for school desegregation and better resources.
Right.
Then it's the Georgia State Senate in 1962.
What's interesting here is that he loses his first gubernatorial campaign in 1966. This wasn't some easy charm descent.
Right. But that loss seems to only fuel his determination.
Yeah.
He learns from it, adapts, and ultimately wins the governorship in 1970.
Right. And remember, this is Georgia,
Huh?
a state deeply divided on racial issues.
Mm-hmm.
Carter positions himself as a moderate,
Right.
which was a risky move.
And in his inaugural address as governor, he declares the time for racial discrimination is over.
Wow.
This wasn't just lip service.
Yeah.
He went on to restructure the state government, improve efficiency, all while pushing for social progress.
His time as governor really solidified his belief in the power of government to enact positive change. But even then, you could sense his ambition extending beyond Georgia's borders.
The national stage was calling.
Yeah.
By the mid-'70s, America was reeling from the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal.
Right.
People were disillusioned, craving authentic leadership, and this peanut farmer from Georgia decides to run for president.
It was a long shot, but he tapped into something profound. A desire for honesty, for a government that truly represented the people. And his campaign was unlike anything anyone had seen before. It was all about grassroots organizing, connecting with voters on a personal level. He wasn't afraid to talk about morality and values, which resonated deeply with a nation looking for a return to integrity.
It's easy to forget in our current political climate that this kind of approach was considered revolutionary at the time, and against all odds he wins.
A peanut farmer from Plains, Georgia, becomes the 39th president of the United States. Talk about a testament to the power of hope and change.
So he steps into the Oval Office, the weight of expectations on his shoulders over his top priorities.
Domestically, energy reform was huge.
Yeah.
Remember, this is the era of the 1970s energy crisis, long lines at gas stations, a real sense of vulnerability. Carter saw this as a defining challenge of his time.
Some might argue that his energy policies were too idealistic ahead of their time.
Perhaps, but he had the foresight to understand that America needed to move towards energy independence. He created the Department of Energy, a whole new cabinet-level agency, and pushed for conservation efforts and the development of alternative energy sources.
He wasn't afraid to take on these big systemic issues even when they were unpopular, and the commitment to the future extended to his environmental policies as well, right?
Absolutely. He significantly expanded national parks, protected vast wilderness areas in Alaska, and really laid the groundwork for the modern environmental movement. This is a president who understood the interconnectedness of environmental health and human well-being.
It's a legacy that continues to benefit us today, and then there was healthcare reform, a challenge that remains a contentious issue even now.
Carter really wanted to push for universal healthcare coverage, but faced significant opposition in Congress. Still, his efforts planted the seeds for future reforms and demonstrated his unwavering commitment to social justice.
He seemed to possess this unwavering moral compass that guided his decisions even when faced with immense political pressure.
And that compass really shone through in his foreign policy. He brought this emphasis on human rights to the forefront, arguing that America's actions abroad should reflect its values. This led to some bold moves like normalizing relations with China after decades of estrangement.
What a significant shift in foreign policy thinking, and of course there's the Panama Canal treaties, returning control of the canal to Panama, a move that started controversy but ultimately demonstrated his commitment to fairness and self-determination.
These were not easy decisions. They required a willingness to challenge the status quo and stand up for what he believed was right.
And then there's Camp David, perhaps his most celebrated foreign policy achievement. This is where his skills as a negotiator and peacemaker truly came to the forefront.
He personally brokered the peace agreement between Egypt and Israel, two nations locked in conflict for decades. It took 13 grueling days at Camp David, with Carter mediating between Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin.
I remember reading that he used this incredible combination of patience, persistence, and even a bit of humor to ease the tension and build trust. He understood that peace required more than just political agreements. It needed a human connection.
And that connection he forged resulted in a landmark agreement, paving the way for a more peaceful Middle East. It was a triumph of diplomacy and a testament to his unwavering belief in the power of dialogue.
It's a moment that really encapsulates his leadership on the world stage, but unfortunately the presidency is rarely smooth sailing, and Carter faced his share of challenges as well.
Yes, the economy was struggling with inflation and unemployment. The energy crisis continued to impact American lives. And then came the Iranian Revolution and the hostage crisis, which cast a shadow over his presidency.
It was a truly difficult time for the nation. For over a year, American hostages were held captive in Tehran. And despite his best efforts, diplomacy, sanctions, even a daring rescue attempt that tragically failed, Carter couldn't secure their release before the end of his term.
It was a heartbreaking situation and one that undoubtedly impacted his re-election bid.
He lost to Ronald Reagan in 1980. It was a bitter defeat. But even in the face of this setback, Carter never lost his sense of purpose. He seemed to view leaving office not as an end, but as a beginning.
And what a beginning it was. He embarked on a post-presidency unlike any other one, defined by his tireless humanitarian work and unwavering commitment to peace and justice.
It's almost like leaving the pressures of the presidency freed him up, to pursue his passions even more vigorously.
Exactly. He wasn't interested in the typical post-presidency path, corporate boards or lucrative speaking engagements.
Right.
Instead, he founded the Carter Center, a non-governmental organization dedicated to advancing peace and health worldwide.
The Carter Center has been involved in so many incredible projects. What are some of the highlights that really demonstrate its impact?
Well, they've monitored elections in over 100 countries, helping to ensure fair and democratic processes.
Wow.
They've worked to mediate conflicts in places like Sudan, Haiti, and even North Korea, bringing warring factions to the negotiating table.
It's amazing to think of a former president taking on these incredibly complex and often dangerous situations. He could have easily chosen a quieter life after leaving office.
But that simply wasn't Jimmy Carter. He was driven by this deep sense of purpose, a belief that he could use his experience and influence to make a tangible difference in the world.
And he did. One of the most inspiring examples is the Carter Center's work in combating diseases like guinea worm disease.
When they began their campaign in the 1980s, there were millions of cases worldwide.
Right.
Today, thanks to their efforts, the disease is on the verge of eradication. It's a testament to his persistence, his hands-on approach, and his refusal to give up on even the most challenging problems.
It's a truly remarkable achievement, and let's not forget his work with Habitat for Humanity. I mean, picture this, a former president, hammer in hand, building homes alongside volunteers for families in need.
It's a powerful image that speaks volumes about his humility and his commitment to serving others.
Right.
He didn't just talk about compassion, he lived it.
And the world recognized his extraordinary contributions in 2002. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize not for his presidency, but for his tireless work in the decades that followed.
It was a well-deserved honor. It acknowledged his unique approach to post-presidency, his dedication to making the world a better place long after leaving the political stage.
So as we reflect on Jimmy Carter's life and legacy, what do you think will be his most enduring contribution?
I think he'll be remembered as a man of integrity, a man of deep faith, and a man who never stopped believing in the power of human kindness. He showed us that leadership isn't about power or titles, but about service empathy and a willingness to fight for what's right, even when it's difficult.
His life is an inspiration to us all. He reminds us that each of us has the capacity to make a difference in the world, no matter our background or position.
His story is a testament to the enduring power of hope and the belief that even small acts of kindness can ripple outwards, creating a more just and compassionate world.
Well said. Jimmy Carter may be gone, but his legacy will continue to inspire generations to come. And for those of you listening who want to learn more about this remarkable man, I encourage you to visit the Carter Center website or explore the many biographies written about his life.
And as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What are your reflections on Jimmy Carter's life and legacy? Who are other inspiring figures whose stories you'd like us to explore in future deep dives? Let us know in the comments below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more insightful deep dives into fascinating topics. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving to make the world a better place.